So we're talking about peer-to-peer and server-based networking. It's a quite simple concept. We'll explain in detail. Example, you have a switch connected 4 systems, which will have a operating system, Windows 10 or any respective Windows OS will be connected to a switch. Now, if your system required some sort of services, you need a server OS in shortly. What all those services? Example, DHCP. DHCP is providing IP address automatically to your system. When you connect your patch code from the switch to your system will receive automatically IP from the respective server. Then you need a server OS or server. There are many other services like, for example, FTP file transfer server, SMTP for email exchange. We will learn a few in the later. Then also, if you know that your system have a password with your name given by your IT team. If you forget the password, you can go back to them for reset. Sometimes you have a username, but the username have a limited privilege. You cannot install any software. So you will go back to IT, asking them either they will be install it to your system or they will give you a privilege to install it, which means your system is managed by the server. In this design, like you have a server and you have a system who can work based on the server policies. This type of network we called server-based. Your system will be managed by a server, then we call it as a server-based OS. As an example, we can talk about DC. So what does it mean by DC? The DC means domain controller. Domain controller. So what is the role of this? Let's say you are joined today to my organization and I gave you a laptop. It's a Windows 10. And I'm giving you a username, example ABC. Or let's say your name, example user1. Then I must have a server which can provide the required services to your system. I'm attaching to my switch. When I say server, which means this system is providing some sort of services. One of the services called DC. The other services are like FTP, DNS, DHCP, etc. So what is the role of the domain controller? Like you are to manage your users, to manage the systems. Example, I'm going to say the user1, the username, user1 will be logged into your system only. You should not log into the other systems. We'll put the restriction. And when you log in to use your system, you should not install any software unless it's really required and given the permit from the admin. So some sort of policies, services that will be applied, but it's not directly applied to your system. It will be applied in the domain system, domain controller. So domain controller is one of the services available with the server. To achieve this, first we'll go for the hardware. To achieve this, what hardware requirement that we need? Example, I need a high-end capacity of like RAM, CPU, or a processor, hard disk, and some sort of extra. So we will look into the domain controller prerequest, which need to match with our server to install it. Second, how come we make this server as a DC? Server is the common name who can provide services. DC is one of the services. So I need server OS. Only the server OS can provide the services. Example, you may heard about Windows 2003, which was the oldest server OS. Windows 2003. Then I could say like Windows 2000, example 2016, 2019. These are the some server OS. We need to install any one of this OS into our system. Like for example, I procured HP server with high-end capacity of RAM, hard disk, CPU, etc. Then I installed Windows 2016 or 19 OS. Even we have a choice of platform, like we can install VMware, ESXi. Then I can use some space for getting DC and some other services for some space for other services, etc. But we directly talk about DC now. I installed Windows Server OS. Once I installed Windows Server OS into this hardware, this server OS can provide many services. Example, DHCP, DNS, SMTP, POP3, IMAP, and many more. One of them are called DC. And I need to make this system as a DC, which means domain controller. When I install Windows 2016 OS into this server, the username will comes automatically called administrator. Administrator. The moment I made the system as domain controller, this administrator will have a move into next level. This user will have a promotion to call it as enterprise admin. Enterprise admin. Before we making them as a DC, a domain controller, the username is called administrator. After the DC, you call it as enterprise administrator. And the entire organization will have only one enterprise administrator. They may have a multiple administrator based on the shift or based on the role procedures. We will create a user. Example, I am an enterprise admin within that organization. You guys came as a new admin, like a second shift or like a third shift, an extra admin. So I will create a username for you and will give a privilege as an administrator, but not like an enterprise admin, which means some services which you can do, which will not affect it to the business. But if there is anything which required a massive support or like the restarting the entire services, something which will impact to the business, you need a permission from the enterprise admin, which will be talked to the senior or to the top management to get the approval and pros and cons and etc. So in shortly, one admin called enterprise admin, there are many, an administrator with limited privileges. We're coming back to our point, we are going to make the system as a DC, domain controller. Once I made the system as a domain controller, example, DC is the name of the server, DC dot, then my organization name, for example, CML Info Tech, tech.com. So when you have joined in my company, you will get a username with your name. Like for example, your name will make as a short, which not created before. So the new username at the right, then the company name, CML Info Tech.com. So your system will be a part of this, we call it as a domain, this domain. Then this user one can change with any different username based on their own names, but they all are part of this domain. Then the DC, which is your system name, like your system, for example, this system, I'm going to give you a PC1 at or dot cmlinfotech.com. So pc1.cmlinfotech.com is the system name. User1@cmlinfotech.com is the username, which is your email ID as well. So it will be integrated with Office 365, which is a part of the Microsoft. So it's all interconnected. Now, there are many more benefits by doing this. One of them that you will have a shared folder which you can will give us some set of space to each user to keep your data from the server itself. Then if I have a massive upgrade, like we call it as a patch, maybe AV, antivirus patch, I can run a service, patching services, not coming to individual user. I can go by department based or by floor based or based on number of users based, which will not affect to everyone in one shot. Like I'm sending an email to the support team that the support team have 25 people. Your system will be upgraded tonight at 2 a.m., but your services will be back before you join, before your day starts. So I'm sending you a patch or the upgrading procedure only to a 25 users. Either I need to come to every desk doing by manually to every users, which will be not a good practice. So here in the domain controller, I'm going to create called OU, organizational unit. Then I'll put the respective users on it. Then I'll give some set of policies will assign to the respective users. This is called Active Directory. There are many concepts again to learn from the Windows perspective. Active Directory, which have the users details, credentials, login procedures, connected to which systems. If the user forgot to put the password, or if the users by mistake put 2-3 times the wrong password, it will be locked. So we can put the policies that how many times they need to put the password, wrong password, like a 2-3 times, then it will be hanged or locked, coming back to the admin to get unlocked, etc. There are many benefits. So in shortly, when coming back to the points, when you need such a services means managed by a central person, a central system, then we call it as a server-based design. This server can be anything. The DC domain controller is one of the services. There is a backup DC or additional DC or child domain, forest. There are many names within the domain controller concept. If your main DC goes down, what will happen? You should have alternate domain controller, or you can go for parent domain, like your sister concern company. Your main company will have a sub companies, and the sub company will be licensed by under the main company, will have the same clustering concept. So in shortly, when you have a central system who can manage all your properties, all your edge devices, then we call as a domain controller. The peer-to-peer means I have a switch. I'm providing your internet services. I'm telling you to connect your laptop to my network. And many of our colleagues who are coming to our place are connecting their system. Maybe we do a group studies coming all to our place, connecting, and we are sharing files, sharing folders, sharing videos, talking each other, sending data. But all are independent. There is no one to control by ourselves. So we can use any different platform of ours, like for example, Windows XP, Windows 2000, Windows ME, Millennium Edition, Windows Vista, Windows 10, Windows 2003, Windows 2010, Windows 2012, 16, Linux, whatsoever, whichever the platform that you have, you connect. So if this system goes down, others will never affect, because this is an independent system. So anybody can join at any time, same as anybody can leave at any time. So this is, we call it as a peer-to-peer network. No one is to manage. So if I'm planning to have my central server here, and I'm asking the server to manage all other teams. When we go this platform, again, there is some prerequisite that we need to follow. What is the hardware requirement of server to manage others? What are the services to be managed? Are they really happy to come across under our department? Because now they can install any software. They can watch anything. They can uninstall anything. They can format anytime. But when it comes under the server, server will give an instruction. Server will put some policies, some restrictions, some AV virus. So we cannot install all these softwares. Our antivirus will be defect. And to overcome that, it required a password to stop, or we need to go back to the server to ask them to give some favor. Or if it's against the company policy, they will never do that. So when we approaching our server, our clients to become under the server, of course, that is more securable, but again, it's a license based. So when you have such a design like a central server, making your clients happy for their work environments by not getting to unnecessary worms, threats, phishing, spoofing, many things, which all can be managed by your central server, going through some backend activities like a patching, certification, like a CA, certificate authority, SSL certificate. There are many things on a backend screen to make that you guys receiving your satisfactory input to make your life easy towards your work environment. If you're getting unwanted virus, threats, email, etc., on every second, so every time, your work will be interrupted. You cannot work smoothly. You need to stop some services. So that all take care by your central server by going back with many other factors, dependencies like a firewall, something many in a backend services. So we are coming back to our point. What we said that you have peer-to-peer and server-based network. When we say server-based, there is a central system that you can manage, which is more secure, which is, of course, it's a more secure by the way, but having a more limitations. The peer-to-peer means if anyone goes away, will not affect it to others. Anybody can join, anybody can leave at any time. It's an independent network. It's called peer-to-peer network. Hope you understood. The next topic, we have a 3 more day for theory sessions. So next session, we're going to start with the OSI reference model, of course, which is more theory, but as we will run with the practical oriented, which is more important for us to learn from CCNA perspective. Like we have a switching, we have a routing, which is talking from the OSI perspective. It's more interesting topic. Then after the OSI layer, we will start with a small practical session. Then we'll start with the IP address. From onwards, we will have completely theory and practical mixed together. So hope you understand the session. Any doubt? So this is all about our session today. We have discussed about many points, including the peer-to-peer and server-based. Our upcoming session is OSI reference model. So I hope you enjoyed the session today. Thank you. Have a good time. From CML Infotech.